What's up, guys? Trey Yanity with BamaInsider.com. We're back for number 2 of the Players Spotlight. Today we're going to be talking about Daniel Wright. But before we get into that, guys, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe. We're getting close to 50,000. You don't know how much it means to us. Just hit that like button. It's as simple as that. Daniel Wright is now a redshirt senior out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He's listed at 6'1", 195 pounds at the safety position. Wright went to Boyd Anderson High School down there in Fort Lauderdale, where he was recruited by now head coach Mario Cristobal, and at the time, Wright was a unanimous 4-star, listed as number 60 on ESPN's 300, the 5th best safety prospect in the country as well, and the number 14 player in the state of Florida. Now guys, growing up, Daniel Wright kind of had it in his blood. His older brother, Major Wright, is now a Super Bowl champion playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he went to the same high school as former Alabama defensive back Eddie Jackson, where they were both coached by Quincy Woods. Daniel Wright decided to pick Alabama over Florida, Florida State, Miami, and Southern California. Now, as many of you may remember, there was a lot of hype around Daniel Wright coming into Alabama, so let's take a look at what he's done over his last 4 seasons leading up to this redshirt senior year. In his freshman season, Wright played in 14 games. He collected 10 tackles there. All of those came on kickoff coverage, a total that tied for the team lead in that category. That season, he was selected by UA's coaching staff as a special teams player of the week 3 times that season: Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. Wright had the freshman season you would hope for, but his sophomore season was cut short after he underwent a season-ending procedure prior to the Arkansas game that season. Before then, he totaled 8 tackles, he had 2 pass breakups in only 4 games before he received that injury. In game number 2 of that season against Arkansas State, Wright set his career high mark for tackles with 5 against the Red Wolves. In 2019, Daniel Wright returned as a redshirt sophomore. This time, he got to play the full season. He played in 13 games, he had 8 tackles over that stretch, and had his biggest game of the season against, well, the Arkansas Razorbacks, the team Alabama was going to play next, right before he had his surgery in 2018. In 2020, this past year, and he secured the starting safety spot as the season began. In that season, he picked off 2 passes. He had a 65-yard interception return for a touchdown. He collected 60 tackles, only 1 for loss, and also had 3 pass breakups and 1 quarterback hurry. Wright was named Defensive Player of the Week against Mississippi State on Halloween night, and against Missouri, he led Alabama in tackles with 11 solo stops, his first career start that night. If we take a look at the current depth chart, Daniel Wright is listed as the starting free safety ahead of DeMarco Hellams, but Hellams, with a very strong season last year, very well could overtake that job. If that were to happen, Daniel Wright's playing time would obviously become a lot more limited, may see some time at strong safety, switching in and out with Jordan Battle, but his options are definitely limited depending on what this team decides to do on the depth chart. Still considered a low-grade NFL prospect, Daniel Wright has an opportunity this season to be a big part of the defense, a defense that is getting loaded with all kinds of young talent. And with the loss of Dylan Moses, Christian Barmore, Joshua McMillan, and Patrick Surtain, Daniel knows that his leadership could go a long way in getting him that starting role back and getting him playing time this season. As we take a look at this scouting report, I wanted to highlight a few different things. The first, Daniel Wright's excellent reaction time. Daniel Wright has batted down 5 balls in his career and is typically looking to create that kind of defense. Daniel Wright also has steady coordination. While he may have an inability to finish tackles at times, as we look at his Pro Football Focus numbers, he had 3 games in a row where he had a below 45 grade tackling ability. At the same time, he's usually not overcommitting himself on plays where he can make the tackle. Wright has soft hands for a defender. He had 2 interceptions this past season, 1 for a pick 6. And also consistent red zone defense. Throughout the entire season, his Pro Focus Football grade only dipped below 50 3 times, and didn't do so at all in the second half of the season, with the exception of that Florida game in the SEC title. So we dive into the numbers a little bit further, taking a look at Wright's Pro Football Focus numbers. These are averages throughout the 2020 season. None of them went over 65, but at the same time, none of them were under 50. 52.7 as a defensive grade throughout the season. His red zone defense got a grade of 51.5 on the year. Daniel Wright is a consistent player. He's not going to hit you the home run every time, but typically his defense grades out to be slightly above average on Pro Football Focus. Is Daniel Wright the starter, the veteran starter this Alabama team needs on defense? I think so. This defense is getting absolutely loaded with talent with the incoming class. But on the other side of that coin, they need some leadership. They need somebody to help them learn the culture, learn the program a little bit. Daniel Wright, being a redshirt senior this year, one of the oldest players on this defense, is going to look to fill in that role. The safety will look to cap off his career at Alabama the right way, and will look to play in the NFL after his time here as maybe a 5th or 6th round selection. A defense that has caught some slack in the past, that is looking to reload and lead this Alabama team in 2021, needs senior leadership, and Daniel Wright could be perfect for that role. There's no telling if DeMarco Hellams will gain that starting position, or if Daniel Wright will be thought of as the consistent starter in this 2021 season. Spring practice will definitely help us get a better idea of who that will be come fall. Daniel Wright is our second player highlighted on our Bama Insider Players Spotlight. Guys, as always, go hit that like button. Give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel for more content like this and all kinds of content surrounding everything Alabama football. For BamaInsider.com, my name is Trey Yanity. This has been a Player Spotlight on safety Daniel Wright.